In this video, we'll show you how to make your first recording with the Behringer Flow 4V field recorder. There are a ton of things on this recorder. It is a deep product, so we're not going to be able to cover everything, but this is just getting started with your very first recording, so let's go ahead and jump in. All right, first up, of course, is that you have to plug your microphone in. We're going to just use a dynamic microphone here, the Shure SM58, which looks something a bit like that. And I'm just going to plug that in over here on the left-hand side. You'll see that's a little out of focus because we are focused for sitting it down like this, but there we go. So we've got our microphone plugged in. Next, we want to turn the recorder on. Now, where is the power button? Trick question, there is no power button. It is powered via USB, with a USB-C connection. So you can use the included AC power adapter, or in our case, we're just going to use a USB battery bank. Looks like this. And I'll plug that into the center slot of the three down here. There's a USB connection for audio, which can also take power, incidentally. There's one specifically for power. And once we plug that in, you'll see that it will power up. Here we go. Okay, now that we have our microphone plugged in, let's go ahead and arm that channel. You have to tell the recorder which inputs you want it to record. So we're going to come down to this menu right here. And we have this little interface here, which is called the Rec Enable. And you tell it here which inputs you want to record and whether or not you want to record a mix of all of the inputs. So there's something that's interesting here. Because this is a 32-bit float recorder, you kind of work a little bit differently. So you have to think of this in terms of a mixer, which it technically is. We can record input 1, which is where we plugged in our microphone, and that's fine. But because it's recording in 32-bit float, those levels that it records at are going to be extraordinarily low. When you first download that onto your computer after the recording, you might have a tendency to freak out because you'll look at the waveform and there'll be nothing there, or seemingly nothing there. It's actually there. You just have to boost it way up and it'll be there. Now, another way you can do this is you can actually record the mix. And what that will do is that will take the levels that you have adjusted here with your faders and apply that into the mix. And it will include all of the microphones that you have plugged into your unit. So if I just wanted a mix, if I wanted a left and right stereo mix of my one microphone, I could actually disable that and just record the mix like this. A lot of really simple use cases are actually probably going to want that. In our case, let's go ahead and enable one and we'll get the mix as well. All right, now that we've chosen that we want to record input number 1 and the mix, let's go ahead and swipe over and just make sure that our resolution is set where we want it. We have a variety of things here. Here we go. We can do 24-bit fixed or 32-bit float. Now, most of you probably bought this recorder excited that it can record 32-bit float. That's what we'll do in this case. You can do 24-bit fixed if you need to. If you're working on a production, you're going to be handing off the sound to somebody else to work on the post, and they insist that they want 24-bit, you can do that. But we're going to leave ours at 32-bit float. All right, next up, we're going to set up our headphones. I've got a set of headphones here, so we're going to plug that in. The headphone jack, of course, is just over here. Plug that in, and I can set my headphone volume level. Of course, I want to start with that down a little bit lower. Just tap on that, and then I can use, just tap on that, and then I can use the control knob here to reduce the levels. So let's maybe just start with it, maybe about one of the lower settings there. There we go. That's good. All right, now that we set our resolution, let's come back over to the channel menus here. And I'm just going to tap, we've already selected, we're on 1 right now. I'm going to go ahead and start talking into the microphone and increase the fader here. And the idea here is I want to get my levels to a healthy level. As I continue to turn it here, we'll start to see some level come in. Checking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Checkity, check, check, check. There we go. Starting to see some. And this is a dynamic microphone. It needs a lot of gain, and that's okay. We can crank it up. There's no harm in going to, even if we have to go to max. But I typically want to put it somewhere right around there so that I have some headroom, so that if somebody laughs, that there's enough room for that to be recorded. We're recording 32-bit float. That shouldn't be an issue. You can fix it in post if you need to. But generally, I'd like to come out with good levels from the start, like that. Now, if you're not getting any level at all, double check your mic. If you're using a condenser microphone, you will need to turn on 48-volt phantom power, which is this button right here. And you just press and hold that. It counts down, and then it turns the phantom power on. Now, in our case, we're using a dynamic mic, so we don't need that. We can go ahead and turn that off. No phantom power required. All right, now that we have our level set, we also have some other things we can do. There's all sorts of processing here. We'll have to cover that in another one. There's a lot there. But just to start, we will apply a high pass filter, and we'll go ahead and turn that on to 75 Hertz. If I'm recording dialogue, most voices don't go down to 75 Hertz, and so all we're doing is filtering out any sort of room noise down below 75 Hertz, basically. All right, with that, we are ready to record, and so we can pop back out to the main screen here, and you can see there's our mix level. That's great. To record, all we do is press the record button, and you can see it starts recording. And you know you're recording when you have the big flashing time code here. That's telling us that we're recording. And when we're done recording, all we need to do is press the stop button, just like that. Now, once you've made your first recording, of course, you can transfer it to your computer from the SD card and take it into post-production. Of course, the SD card, which you've already set up, is back here on the back. You just press it in, pop it out, take that to your computer, and you're set to go. Now, one note. If you recorded in 32-bit float, which we did here, you will notice that when you bring this audio into post-production, that the isolated channel, so there's a file. The file will have multiple channels in it. The first two channels are the stereo mix. We recorded a stereo mix. So you may just want to use those, and that's fine. You can just get rid of the third channel. And you do that differently in every single digital audio workstation or video editing app. Refer to your documentation to figure out how to do that. But if you want to use the isolated track, which is the third track in this case, what you need to do is boost those levels. It is, for many first-time users of 32-bit float in this format, you don't realize that, in fact, it is recorded. It just looks really, really low. There's no waveform there. So you just boost it up, and there's no cost in boosting it up. You have this special architecture in the Flow 4V to record this in 32-bit float. So unlike 24-bit, if you boosted the levels up, you'd bring up a bunch of noise as well. In the 32-bit float format, you're not going to have to worry about that noise floor like that. The Flow 4V has very clean preamplifiers and converters. And that's it. So check on back soon for additional tutorials on how to use the Flow 4V. Get out there and make some great sound.